So we stand in front of Dollar Tree and basically
such as this thing here.
All right, I'm excited to have a guest.
Metal right here, of course. Everyone is.
Cuba is like they're under a dictator.
RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. We are live for a Sunday night edition of the People's Talk Show, and I wanted to connect just to share some thoughts in reference to how the media is trying to sell us on a very old and outdated governance model, structure, you name it. This whole UK feudal system that they're trying to keep alive. It's been bothering me all weekend, so I figure I would connect and see who else believes that it's time to address some of the atrocities that have been committed by that particular bloodline, and just address the future or lack thereof for that particular direction in relations to the appointment of Charles as the king, and what does that actually mean in this current day and age. So we're going to touch on that, share a couple articles, share my thoughts, and definitely would love to get your thoughts, just because it's been a very emotional weekend, just because the more history I dig up and the more I realize how much blood has been shed and how much devastation has been caused by the British monarchy. I want to put the question out there. Is it time to abolish that whole structure and the relevancy of that, family? We'll see. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well. Not sure how long I'll go. Just checking in tonight. Wanted to definitely share some stories or whatnot, point you in the direction of a couple of things that might be of interest to you before the week began, just because as always, it's going to be more than enough stuff to talk about. And I don't want to get backtracked on having too many things to cover. But in your personal opinion, of course, if you grew up in the Western Hemisphere, in particular in the U.S., we have a much different viewpoint on the whole political structure and just the whole British monarchy in general. But when I was just looking at all the territories and nations that throughout the last several hundred years they've shown up on the shores of and colonizing those regions there, just think about all the lives that were lost, and how to this day the idea of them removing an old currency, bringing in a new currency at the same time the currency is not worth anything is some things that really just I think we need to talk about. Anyway, let me check in real quick. As always, I'll acknowledge a couple people. Let me know if you have any first-time viewers. Definitely would love to acknowledge your presence. Then when the phone lines open up, definitely give me a call. We'd love to hear from you guys directly. And so let me just check in real quick and see where it takes us tonight. We got Excalibur checking in. We got Jonathan Marsh. We got Steve Hall checking in. We got Kenneth Gibson. Where Mar W. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Forgive me. Joshua Carpenter checking in. Roger. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well. Let me just check in real quick. So a lot of articles here. And just a question, at this current moment, given the circumstances the world is facing, and to be confronted with an idea of a transition of a monarch, at the same time, the rest of the world is realizing that even though we've been sold a democracy based upon, especially here in America, initially being a republic, how we're not witnessing anything of that nature, and how this whole British monarchy, which is supposed to be just a symbolical representation of whatever, but it doesn't seem like that. And the fact they're talking about just the issues with this whole transition is really starting to get to me. You are back here. Appreciate you. So I apologize for that. Issues on my side. But as always, for those who are plugged in, definitely make sure, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. And I just want to jump right in, man, and just share a lot of headlines with you and get your thoughts on some things. So let me just jump right in. And so I was very active last 48 hours on Twitter, as well as in the Telegram channel, just trying to highlight some things. The deeper I dive into uncovering some of the history that I just wasn't interested in until now. And when you see the millions of lives lost and how the British monarchy just basically looted every single country they went into, and I can forgive, but I can't forget. It's just one of the things where, as tough as it is to try to cover up your past sins, you can never outlive the things that you've done in the past. And at this current moment, outside of one country that's wanting to address the the relationship with the monarchy in reference to having Charles be the continual head of state. I'm hoping and would love to see more nations that's under their territories decide to opt out, because at this current moment, what good does it serve you to even have a symbolic figure in the form of a monarchy that really has no relevancy whatsoever in this day and age? Like, even taking on a new form of currency with his face on it, for what? And so I would love to see more nations decide to call out this archaic and not necessary political structure, and ultimately return all the goods that were looted from nations throughout the last several hundred years back to their rightful owners. Because not a single jewel, not a single asset really belongs to that particular family. And it's just, justice need to be served in this life, preferably. Anyway, let me just share with you a little bit. So I'll put it up here. So over the weekend, I shared a 5-minute clip, and I actually put the link to this clip here down in the description, but it's referred to as Slavery, Colonization, and the Crown. And it walks through a very interesting timeline of some of the most, just some of the most egregious acts done by the monarchy within the last couple hundred years. And of course, it talks about India, the slave trade, you name it, and how even the admission of reparations for slave owners to some nations, but nevertheless skipping over the fact and trying to make right, or somehow trying to make right, what was done to the actual individuals that were referred to as slaves. And so a lot of iffiness here, man. But this little interesting 5-minute clip here goes real deep into some history of the family itself. And, there's no way of escaping this, man. This stuff needs to be dealt with, talked about. And, this is definitely, in my opinion, a movement or a cause that people should pay more attention to, as well as bring to the forefront. Like, unfortunately, we won't see any, movements outside the palaces, anything like that. And on top of it, I'm trying to figure out, how do people actually grow up in a system designed keeping a figure over you to the point where you call, an individual king or queen, and put them in this higher status of life as if you're literally subservient to them in the form of a peasant type of situation. To me, that's what, modern day slave mentality in my estimations. But anyway, let me keep moving. I got lots of things I want to share. On my Twitter page, I was very active, as I mentioned, just sharing a lot of things. But here's an interesting tweet here in reference to what happened in India. And we know that pretty much every place that was colonized by the British Empire throughout the last several hundred years was completely looted and robbed, and probably millions of lives were taken. But yet at this current moment, nobody seems to really care or even want to talk about those things. And I think that's absolutely wrong. And there needs to be some people out there vocal and expressing their concerns at the fact that at this current moment, I think every single wrong should be announced and accounted for. And then I'm probably getting a little, and that's how yesterday, especially, I'm ranting a little bit, but yesterday I was extremely heated as I was watching and reading more and finding out the things that took place, and really irritated because the media is painting this transition like it's something that the rest of the world's supposed to care about. And I can't see the relevancy. I don't understand why. People die every single day. What makes this particular situation any different than anybody else? Because of the history, the tradition of that particular system that is completely out of touch and is no place for that structure right now in this point in time, other than one. And then that plays into what I believe is the most important subject matter, which happens to be the actual king and king of kings, as I put out there on our post. But anyway, I'm everywhere tonight. But I wanted to do a live stream yesterday, but I knew I was going to be a little bit too heated. But anyway, let's start off with some articles here. It says, why King Charles III's portrait will face in the opposite direction on the new money. And so real quick here, give you an idea of some figures out there, just because they're going to be calling in those notes and coins and issuing new. But give you some figures. It says there are 4.5 billion banknotes worth 80 billion and 29 billion in coins in circulation bearing the queen's head. And so they will remain legal tender but gradually phase out for a design chosen by the new king. So here we got some old coins here, and then this is a mock-up of what could be considered one of the new coins. But think about just this particular coin here. Say this could be this could be the British version, and mind you, there's 14 other colonies that also have coins and notes with the queen's face on it, which will be rebranded, redone, and Charles' image put on top of it. And just to let you know, like for those, I put out a what you call it, a image earlier talking about just, it bothers me to even associate the word king with a human being at this current, in this current day and age. To call somebody a king, I personally, I don't feel comfortable calling another man, the flesh and blood man, king. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, when I think of king, I think of, biblical king, Yeshua king. I don't think about another man who put on his pants the same way I do in the morning type of thing. So I won't be referring to him as king if I can help it, just, intention. But anyway, point in case is, if you even just think about the chemical composition of this particular coin here, say if this is a, I don't know, 1 pound, 5 pound, whatever it might be, not familiar with the, British pound. But anyway, just the chemical composition is predominantly nickel and copper. So it probably costs more to create that coin. Actually, the chemical composition of that coin is worth more than the actual face value of it, especially given the current conditions that we're experiencing now, with the CPI figures and inflation running rampant in most places. So I can probably imagine how they will not be looking to utilize this particular model for currency moving forward, just because nickel costs and copper and everything needed to create those coins cost more than the face value of it, especially here in the US. But anyway, here, I'm everywhere tonight. Just thought I would just log in. And so it says here, Charles' image will face left, the opposite direction, due to a 17th century tradition that the direction must alternate for each new monarchy. So while the queen's image faces the right, her sons will face left due to a 17th tradition that the direction must alternate for every new monarchy. They must switch the direction the image faces. And so I thought this was interesting because outside of the gold and silver coins that will be minted, whether it be in Australia, whether it be in the UK or Canada, which will take on the Charles's image, the regular notes and currency in circulation, worthless paper, literally, like other than just being able to be spent in real time. Holding them for the long run, you're guaranteed to lose out, just like every other fiat currency, as we're witnessing this transition. And so the Britannica coins is 99, silver is a great coin, no doubt. And that's where, like, unless it's actual lawful money in the form of gold and silver, and of course you got platinum out there as well, with this new image on there, I wouldn't be one to really want to hold those things for long. But anyway, I thought it was just worth bringing to your attention that his image will face the opposite direction of his mother's. And keep it going right along, because I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts and hear from you directly. Got a couple articles up here. So here's just something else I thought I would bring your attention. Call grows for the return of crown jewels to India and Africa after Queen's death. And so, as I mentioned, every just because how things, I mean, just going back throughout history, this is just how things were operating under a monarchy system or a feudalistic system. For the most part, every single jewel would be considered a blood diamond type of situation. But yet you'll never hear those words associated with what is worn around her neck or anything of the like. So every single diamond inside of this crown here more than likely came from Africa or somewhere where they went in and oppressed, enslaved. Any rebellion was basically taken down, i.e., people were killed and tortured to extract the wealth to then bring it back to UK, which UK, and I don't mean to be harsh tonight, but to my knowledge, UK, the United Kingdom itself, just that region, has produced nothing of significant value to my knowledge. I could be 100% wrong, other than probably sheep and goat. But yet everything that is in the possession of this particular monarch came from somewhere else in which they colonized. And nobody seems to really be out here pitching a fit, demanding justice at this current time. But the media is trying to spin us on the fact that the world needs to and prepare and celebrate the transition as if, like, what is it relevant to us in this day and age? Anyway, more articles here real quick. But here is something that I hope develops more. A Caribbean nation will vote on removing King Charles III as head of state, its prime minister says, as the Queen death sparks new debate on the impact of colonialism. And so, just to give you guys an idea, because this is just me doing a little bit of research on my side, just because I wasn't interested until now. So here's a visual aid here to give you an idea of the impact and the nations that have been colonized over the last several centuries, and just put yourself in a situation of how it took place and the lives that were ruined, all in the name of the queen or the king or whatever. And think about the condition of those nations as we speak, in particular, India, Africa, and especially the islands. You know, it just is unbelievable poverty in a lot of those nations. But where did all that wealth go? Went to a small island, the UK, to a family that didn't work a day in their life, didn't earn, didn't deserve anything other than just that was how tradition carried itself on. But anyway, as you guys see at the bottom here, it says member. The dark blue is the member of the Commonwealth of Nations. And then to the right where it says at the bottom, the British overseas territories and crown dependencies. So there's two distinctions here. The Commonwealth of Nations makes up organization that's still in operation today of about 52 nations that were all formerly, and probably some currently, probably some of the territories in there as well, all former properties of the monarchy. And outside of, over the last couple of years, so this is just me doing a little homework on my side here. I'll actually go back to this article here because it gives you an interesting little bit of history here as to how over the years things has changed. Let me go back here. Let me find it here. Anyway, I probably won't be able to find it, but it just started 1950, at the beginning of her reign in the early 50s, maybe I think 17 or so countries decided to opt out. And they formulated that Commonwealth of Nations for the purpose of not completely letting them go, but just shuffling up the narrative in which they were going to give them the illusion of freedom, but while also the crown being head of state still, ultimately meaning that as long as you use their currency, you were always taxed and expected to pay tribute back to the king or to the queen. So ultimately, you weren't really free. You were given an illusion of freedom by being able to elect certain people, but yet ultimately the crown had the final say. So just like now with the other 14 or so British territories where they have prime ministers and the illusion of freedom, but yet no real say so in anything because everything is pretty much done on their behalf and done for them. Anyway, this is an interesting article here because it gives more detail, and it says as of right now, they're expecting to begin voting and things of that nature. Hope to have it done within the next 3 years. Which we know is probably not going to be too easy to do. But anyway, another nation is using the currency. Here's another one. Charles' secession stirs Caribbean calls for reparations, the removal of the monarch as the head of state. And so hopefully more nations jump on board and decide to deal with those issues and try to get compensation for all the things that were stolen from them throughout the last 100 years or so. Especially. Anyway, I got a couple more articles here. Then I open the phone lines. We'd love to hear what you guys say. So let's talk about a little bit where the wealth is going, where the looted wealth is going. It says, how will the Queen's fortune be divided among the royal family? Queen Elizabeth II's personal fortune was estimated to be around $500 million US. Now the question as to how it will be split between her children and her grandchildren awaits an answer. And so it just talks a little bit about some figures here. So here we got her personal fortune is estimated at 500, while the fortune of her son, Charles, is estimated to be at about 400 million. The overall worth of the entire royal family is estimated to be around $28 billion. So $28 billion of assets, of net worth, of overall worth and looted properties, diamonds, jewels, you name it, things that I'm not even familiar with, is basically being allocated as their possessions. And it goes on and more talking about how some of the grandkids, this, that, whatever. Okay. Yeah. So the reason I want to even talk about this is just because I want to bring the question out there at this current moment, given the world we live in, the issues the world is facing. I find it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around the idea that people are still even acknowledging an individual as a king and giving any respect and paying homage to an individual who in reality is no different than anybody else, other than just the way it's been traditionary to do things for the last several hundred years. And it's just, man, it just irks me to hear and see all this, how they're trying to sell the world on this, but yet it's all, it's literally it's a modern day version of slavery that continues on, because every single territory that's in the possession of the royal family, ultimately the funds trickle back to the UK. Even though they're not calling the shots outright, the people are still paying for using the currencies, as well as just, it's just, anyway. King Charles is in bed with Klaus Schwab. Oh, no, 100%, like 100%. I played his little speech basically saying how the world needs to get ready for, everything they're working towards, whoever the entity that they're referring to, given complete power to, given trillions of dollars to. So stolen wealth is not real wealth, 100%. But yet, as of right now, it belongs to a particular family and that's the thing. Like, and what bothers me the most is that they didn't have to work for a single thing they have. It was all stolen. So they are what would be considered the modern day, that whole activity would be considered modern day terrorist type stuff. They, just the whole idea of colonization is real intriguing to me, just because they invaded every single nation that they colonized, and they basically brought the culture of the UK into those nations, ransacked all the real world wealth in the name of the queen or the king at that time, and just killed millions of people, enslaved everybody. Like the continent of Africa, they were heavy funders, providing, it was a business model. And it's just, Anyway, so long story short, how do we, and is it possible to begin talking about having some discussions on ways to address this particular governance model or structure that has no place in today's society? Or does it? Could I be completely wrong, just because I don't have any connection directly with any allegiance towards that particular format? But then again, it is a great example of what believers in Christ will have somewhat of a, of a taste of, but in a completely different manner. Like, not a single person in the British monarchy would ever die for your sins, would ever do anything to to better your life overall, other than keep you as a peasant or a serf. And speaking of which, let me get to real quick, and I'm open to phone lines. Let me get to a couple more of my little tweets, because I've been tweeting up a storm as of late. So let me just share some tweets with you real quick. So I put this out, I think it was yesterday. I said, all the wealth of the crown belongs to the nations ransacked and exploited for centuries. Charles' secession stirs Caribbean call and whatever. So just share my concerns on how the wealth needs to be redistributed back to its rightful owners. And then here's another little caveat that has gone on the radar. And so this is from Fortune magazine. It says the Queen's personal assets will now be passed down to Charles once he officially takes the throne. And due to a special legal clause that aims to avoid erosion of the royal family's wealth, he won't have to pay the 40% inheritance tax. So everyone else has to pay the inheritance tax, but not the monarchy, because of this special clause that only the elite and the privileged, the royals, will be able to receive. And so in this current day and age where all the governments are talking about inclusion and making sure everybody has a chance and equal share and equal all this, how does this particular political structure still remain intact without being addressed? Because there's nothing about inclusiveness here when you're separating classes. You have those who are able to have special clauses to avoid paying taxes, while all the rest of the peasants and serfs are expected to pay inheritance taxes and every type of other tax. So what I said was, if this does not infuriate people, I don't know what would. There should be an instant call to abolish the British monarchy and restore all ill-gotten riches to the citizenry. All the assets have been transferred, represent the labor, bloodshed, and tears of millions. But then again, I got about 11 retweets, and even Mario said maybe they should abolish both inheritance taxes and the monarchy. So a lot of people going back and forth, sharing their thoughts on that. Anyway, another one here, and then I'll spare you that. Let me see what we got here. Okay, so this is what I shared this morning. And like I mentioned, like last couple hours, last day or two, just been real in my feelings about just how how people need to just be pissed at this. Anyway, so I shared this little visual aid talking about the feudal pyramid of power. And on the side here talks about food and services, protection and military service, money and knights. And on the right-hand side of it, land. And the fact that this is the system that people are acknowledging, but when you call another human being, another man, a king, you're basically saying that he has some form of importance that resembles the same structure here, because every single thing that they consider his came from the system that we're talking about right now. So I said, if you are willing to call another man king, you must also be willing to accept the fact that you're more than likely viewed as his peasant. And then a couple of people share some thoughts. And let me see. One of them says, let me real quick here. Somebody said, unfortunately, there's plenty of people in the UK with that mentality. Look at the crowds and the unquestioning subservient to the authority. That's a big reason why the mess we're in, and why it'll get a whole lot worse. And so as we looking and seeing crowds of people in the streets and celebrating, I'm thinking think about this. A kingdom and a king is embodied within the land and territory he owns. And so the fact that he owns or has rights or head of state over, a modern day version of saying still has claim to all these territories here, and his face will be on the new instruments that will be used as currency, lets us know that we're in the same system, just in a new gig. Anyway, I can go on and on and on. But let me open the phone lines. I have a couple more articles here, but I'll spare you guys that. But abolishing the monarchy. Will there be any cause to do that? Or is just a pipe dream for some? And for my people who grew up under the British monarchy, if there's anybody out there tuning in, does it, given the circumstances we all experiencing, does it bother you at all? Or is it just the way of life and it's acceptable, it's cool, has, whatever? Because ultimately, every single monetary unit, every single note with the queen or soon to be king's face, it's their property. Like it is, think about this. It's his image. And so a part of it through some form of taxation, whether it's outright or underneath things that we don't even know about, how they're funneling funds back to the monarchy. And I'd assume, I haven't dived deep into it yet, but a good portion of the income that comes back to the monarchy in the form of like residual, recurring monthly or yearly annual payments from their territories is because of the system that's under play. And they're talking about it's symbolic. It doesn't really have the same, weight as it did 200 years ago when the king or queen owned everything. Bull crap. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, Mike, Steve, in Region 9.
Steve, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, I certainly wouldn't trust any family that that's related to Count Dracula.
Yeah, the fact he claimed that as well. So, yeah, man, and it's just so I'm just talking about stuff on the surface, man, but it goes a lot darker and demonic than I don't even know. But it just bothers me that people are still brainwashed by this crap on top of the bootleg system they gave us of a two-party system. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, what's on your mind, man?
Did you see the David Icke take on that?
DBC, I don't think so. I've watched a couple of clips, but I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Yeah, it was on the 9th. It was on the 9th. I just resent it to you because I wasn't sure if you saw it or not. So it's in your email.
Okay, let me
if
grab
you can put that, if you can drop that in the thing to the guys. David Icke talks about the royal family
mm-hmm.
and some of their nonsense and all the rest of that.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's a pretty good clip.
I'll put it in the Telegram channel. Yeah, and also, as I mentioned, for those who are just jumping in, I started off talking about a 5-minute clip that I put in the. I put the link beneath the video here, but it's just a real detailed clip, just showing some of the atrocities that took place under her reign, and it's what got me fired up in the first place when I heard about all the lives that were lost, and I'm just. Anyway, so if you want to see that little clip, I'll put that in the description as well. So,
yeah, no doubt about it. And there's a character that called Jimmy Savile.
Mm-hmm.
He was a DJ or something over there.
Yeah.
Real famous dude. He was on TV for like 30, 40 years over there. Real close friends with the royal family.
Yeah.
And all the pedophile stuff was coming out. And thank goodness, I don't know about the timing, but Netflix just fairly recently, came out with a documentary. It's a 2-part documentary on Jimmy Savile, and they talk about him and the royal family. So people may want to check that out. It just came out. It just came out recently.
Okay, let me. I see something here, so let me put it on the screen here so for people can see. So Jimmy Savile, a British horror story. So came out season 1. But
that's it. There's only 2 parts to it. They're an hour each.
Okay.
I'm just not finishing it up myself, and I just happened to be flipping through my phone and saw that you were on. I was like, oh, let me stop watching this for a minute.
I appreciate you, man.
and give a call. Anyway, that's about it. But yeah, check out the David Icke thing, and check out on Netflix the Jimmy Savile documentary, because they talk about the royal family and all the rest of that mess.
Right. Hey, man. Appreciate you, man.
Pedophile City.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. You guys take care.
Be good.
Later.
Yeah, good stuff, man. So, phone lines are open. Give me a call. Curious to hear your thoughts on this matter. If you got any people who live in British territories, of course, if you were indoctrinated from childhood in the educational system where everything was centered around, God bless the Queen, and everything was catered towards the monarchy just from childhood, I can understand how it's a lot easier to accept the mental conditioning that was given to you, just because the only way that this model has been able to last for so long is because after so many years, it becomes ingrained. It's all you know. And that's why I think here, growing up in the U.S., to where, we have probably something the best version of what we would call freedom in the meantime. That's why I think my viewpoint on that style of governance is already failed. And on top of that, witnessing in real time what we have now in the U.S. is failing just because it's all a damn lie. All right, let's go. Keep talking. Give me a call here. Let me see here. It says, even years after the death penalty was abolished in Britain, Elizabeth was still signing death penalties, even for petty theft in the Caribbean colonies. Really? Okay. Didn't know that, but doesn't surprise me one bit. And so all those colonies, or quote unquote territories, where she was head of state, and I'm still trying to get down to the nitty gritty of everything, but all the territories where Charles will become or remain as head of state, those territories, I guess I assume being head of state gives you say so in how things operate, even though you don't have outright dictator type decisions that you can make, but ultimately they probably can and will. But everything is catered to make sure that they are appeased first rather than the will of the people. But then again, that's the system that everybody grew up in, and that's how things have remained. So, good stuff that I wasn't familiar with that. And one thing I was doing before I actually went live was just throughout the day, just brushing up and trying to familiarize myself with just the whole structure there, just because, from the biblical standpoint, the kingdom concept in the form of the monarchy, the way that it will be given to us in the future. Got a great examples from the Roman Empire. The British Monarchy can be, utilized, but then again, on a completely different level, because ain't no righteousness, ain't no justice, nothing like that in the current structure we have, but it isn't to come. Let me see here. So Donald says, Black people have been colonized right here in America, Mike. Oh, 100%, man. 100%. And the more I dive into looking at how people in the UK especially are going along with this transition and actually emotionally involved in this whole process, shows me how colonization is just not an actual physical occurrence. It becomes a mindset to where you can actually, through time, become comfortable with, and for me, and just become comfortable with your own entrapment to the point where getting out of it or recognizing it can be very hard. Let's get some more calls in. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Ed. How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, doing good, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey, you hit it right when you said this conditioning thing. It's like a slave mentality. They used to have authority over these people and came down hard on their own people.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think it's turned into some kind of fairy tale type thing where the British think they're special and they got the Queen and the King and,
mm-hmm.
All that pomp, it's not good for nothing. But think about this. They tried to do that to us.
Mm-hmm.
We broke away from, taxation without representation.
Right.
And look what we did with God on our side. We overtook them. We overtook them totally.
Right.
They bowed down to us financially.
Right. But watch this, though. Like, even though that is true from a historical standpoint, from what we were told, but if you look at the current structure we have today, we are taxed in everything we do. We have a government of two parties that ultimately report to the same people above them. There's still a unforeseen force controlling them, just like the king openly controlled his territory throughout the several hundred years. So are we really any different other than having the illusion of choice? But ultimately, every dollar you earn it's broken up in several pieces and heads back to its master. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's better than being outright under a king. But then again, we all still answer to somebody with what we do with our time, energy, and effort. You know what I'm saying? And that bothers me.
Yeah,
that still bothers me.
Oh, it does me too. But that didn't start in 1776. That started in 19, when they started the federal income tax.
Right.
That's only been going on for about 100 years. They just slowly, bring that evil in on us.
Yeah.
But, are we any different than England? You were talking about colonization and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We go overtake countries. Well, we tried to overtake Vietnam. We go into Iraq,
right,
and tear that country up, kill millions of people, and
right.
We looted Libya when we went over there and killed Gaddafi. They had more gold than they know what to do with,
right?
So we do the same thing. It's all Satan orchestrates, gets his job done with the love of money
mm-hmm.
and the love of power. And he orchestrates all these people who are willing to fall for that
mm-hmm.
to do his deeds.
Right, 100%, man. 100%.
All right,
man.
thanks, Mike.
Appreciate your call, my friend.
All right, you too.
Yep.
Bye.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let me see here. So feel free to give me a call. Would love to hear your thoughts on this thing. Is it time to abolish the British monarchy? And will we hear calls to do such? I think with the certain territories, or not certain, but one particular territory, talking about reparations is a start. But will we see more? Let me actually grab the article real quick, and so I can dive into it deeper. Give me 1 second here. Let me see here. So this is just it's some interesting history here to see what's been taking place forever. Let me go here. So here's the article here that I mentioned. It says Charles Secession stirs Caribbean calls to remove monarch as a head of state. So my question is, what's the purpose of having him transition as a head of state if it's just meant to be a symbolic figure? So that's how we know it's just not symbolic whatsoever. So give you an idea here, it says earlier this year, some Commonwealth leaders expressed unease at the summit in Kigali, Rwanda, about the passage of the leadership of the 54-nation club from the Elizabeth to Charles. So basically, this club here, let me share with you here. So the Commonwealth Network, it says, welcome to the Commonwealth of Nations, which is the modernized version of the British former colonies, all packaged under one so-called organization, which to me just spells a modern day version of giving the illusion of freedom, but yet ultimately having still control through this entity. But here, the Commonwealth of Nations comprised of 2.2 billion citizens, 20% of global trade, and it's 53 countries. And so this is the same territories I was referring to, where the Crown still has a much stronger and authoritative voice than their own prime ministers and so-called elected officials, the illusion of elected officials here. So think about that. 2.2 billion people ultimately still, in some form or fashion, report back to the Crown. So would it surprise us one bit that they're wanting to be removed from the monarchy? Not at all. So real quick here, let me give you some things here that really caught my attention. Some details here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me see. It gave the details. Give me 1 second here. Maybe it might be the article. But the article I was referring to gave details as to I didn't have it. Anyway, enough ranting. Let's get to some more calls. Feel free to let me know what's in your mind. Queen's funeral will cost taxpayers over $1 billion. Over $1 billion. Oh, 100%. No. Yeah, but it's the Queen's money though. It has her face on it. So ultimately speaking, there's no amount it's no amount of just too much to handle the family's business. Every single note with the royal family's image on it, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's there. So, and yeah. Anyway, let me see here. Grateful Prepper says, if everything that happened in the past, good, bad, and ugly, didn't happen, none of us would be here now. That's an interesting way of looking at it. And ultimately speaking, that has a little, I can see that. And ultimately, it's not more so where we've been, but it's where we're going. And I think a lot of what I'm talking about here has more to do with just people who are supporting and actually going along with this transition period from a queen to a king, how literally they have not learned one bit about just how that whole structure has hindered them more than it's helped them, especially in the UK with gas prices, energy bills. They talk, it's only gonna get more expensive with that. They talking about using a king's currency. Come on now. Let me see what else we got. 1913. We liberate. We should stop paying taxes. Ed, man, that is a great idea. Biggest thing is getting traction and getting the message out to a lot of people to where it really makes a difference. Because right now it can start off as a small pocket of say 100 or so people, nobody paying attention to it. But yet once it gets the attention of the masses, i.e. several thousand, couple million, then you got something going. So believe me, anything that allows us to take back what's rightfully ours, I'm definitely game with talking about that. Behave the way they do. Donald Muhammad, feel free to give me a call. Donald, we'll definitely love to get your thoughts directly. It says the logical question to ask would be, why do Caucasian people behave the way they do? Donald, feel free to let us know why you believe it's that's the case. I think from a historical standpoint, we can utilize that statement, but in real terms today, evil, I ain't never seen I've never saw, demonic forces and Satan discriminate on who he's going to use. Anybody's a willing party, no matter what color you are. He'll definitely use you. You can sign up for you can definitely sign up for his services. Low blood pressure. I don't pay taxes. I got 6 kids, $11K refund. That's a different way of making sure you don't pay taxes. But yeah, we get you though. You lose your home. Don't pay taxes, you lose your home. Right. So there's consequences to it. That's what I'm saying. Like, unless it's a major movement where you get lots of traction and lots of people all included to really make a dent, then on top of that, it'll just be a individual crackdown on you, the person, and you'll be made an example of. That's how locked up they got this system right now. Let's keep it going. Black slavery reparations in the USA is coming too. I could see reparations being mentioned sooner than later. The question is, will it come before UBI or will it come after UBI and be a little bit extra? So we know that $2,000 is the preferred amount based upon the Boost Act. Look it up, Boost Act. Let me just pull it up real quick for those who may not be familiar with it. This was a legislation that was put out there at the beginning of everything. Let me see here. So let me just grab this real quick here. Oops, and it looks like it was taken down. So Rashida Tlaib, watch this. So Rashida Tlaib is one of the congresswomen that brought this forth, the Boost Act, and it was on her page, but all of a sudden it was taken down. But she was a proponent of giving everybody $2,000 during this emergency youth authorization time frame so that people could have their livelihood supported. But it looks like something's changed. But the legislation is still out there. It's sitting on the desk waiting to be approved. So long story short, UBI is guaranteed just because it's going to be the transitionary method they use to get people out of the old system when the banks go under, or the currency, actually outright currency has some type of issues. It's going to be the transition to the CBDC. So they could give people, of color a chance to get a little bit more. So I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. Anyway, phone lines aren't ringing, man. We got a lot of people tuned in, about 200 people tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button. But give me a call, man. I want to hear your voice. Throw some questions out there. I have, other than people expressing their concerns as well, should the British monarchy actually be abolished? Like, should there be discussions now from territories or other nations in general, even though we will never see it from any G7 nations, G20 nations, because they all know the real game is going on. But the territories especially should be ones out here pitching a fit. Because if you look at it like this, if we had one nation looking to pitch a fit to remove the crown as the head of state, then we can get more. And if the more there are, the better the chance of those nations actually having an issue. But just for those, it says the primary minister. No, let me see here. No, let me see here. Yep, it's the wrong article. I'll keep going to the wrong article. Anyway, what else we got here? I'm a first generation white American. Why do I have to pay? Pay what? Taxes or pay what exactly? What do you mean you're paying what? We pay slave tax. It's called welfare. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a slave tax because it's available to anybody. So I think the reparation side of things will be more so. It's going to come from the radical left, and they're going to put it out there at some time, utilizing some type of event. When it comes to using race as the ultimate divider, it's going to be an event that occurs where they're going to say it's time to just pay people for their past atrocities, or past offenses. Here's a good question here. WF agenda under Charles is going to pick up steam. Joshua, 100%. And so here's my thing. Charles is early 70s. I think he's 70 years old. If I'm not, 70 years and died. No, I think Charles is early 70s. And so his, give or take, how much longer he has, for his legacy, I would imagine, and this is just me thinking the way that entity would probably think, wanting to solidify his legacy, knowing that he may not have the time he would like to have to actually complete his life's mission, which I'm assuming has to do with the World Economic Forum and all the things that come from that. So I can imagine they're going to pick up steam right away as far as trying to usher in new types of things that's going to be completely radical. He wants to put his foot on things, put his stamp on things. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike, pay me money back, Saline, Texas.
Pay me money back. What's going on, my man?
Man, I just wanted to bring up a couple key points. Let's go to the king. How you were talking about how they should give back all the assets to the other countries. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing some research, and if you're gonna tell them to give back the assets, we got to give back assets to people too. That's like true. It won't just stop there, because you got to go back to let's go to Gaddafi when he tried to go to the gold standard. We doing a lot of stuff Gaddafi doing if people pay attention. One thing is when we went into Libya, Obama seized over $30 billion worth of assets from Libya. You know what I'm saying? Right. So not only that is Gaddafi had his citizens on around about $450 of universe-based income. We trying to do the same thing,
right?
With our country. So I'm just saying, before we point fingers at everybody else, we got to clean up our own backyard. You know, so
and that'd be wishful thinking, you know. So like, so I know it's more talk than anything else because I don't expect to see any type of change in this life, but it's just the fact that, you know, having these type of discussions would be helpful to get some people to question and wake up, especially on 9/11 today. So we got to definitely touch on that as well. But anyway, yeah, you know, we got a lot of dirt. You know, I'm not saying we, but our country definitely is the new colonizer, new enslaver of the world, i.e. through our currency and plus everything else. So the blood is shed, this blood that's been shed by our own military here in the name of, you know, democracy it's bad. Like, yeah, we got a lot of bodies on our count too. So I feel you.
That's true. And one more thing, when we were talking about the money of the king and the coins and stuff, if you pay attention to our money, if you look at the new quarter, George Washington is no longer going the way he was. He's facing the opposite way of which Abraham Lincoln is facing on the penny now, if you notice that.
I have not. Nope. Okay. Yeah. Slight cunning trickery.
They reversed George Washington's the way he's facing.
Okay, so I didn't pay attention to that. So I put in quarter, and so I see here so here we got the older quarter, and then I see an image here with the new quarter. I'm not sure, American Woman Quarter, I don't know what this is, but so yeah, I see just a reversal here. Okay, that's symbolic of something. That's something behind the scenes that, you know, yeah, I'm sure we got some people out there who can give us their suspicions as to what that means, but yeah.
Somebody told me a while back, and this is just speculation, I don't know, it hasn't been proven. They said if you look at all the silver, if you look at the dime, the nickel, and the quarter, they all face one direction. If you look at the penny, Abraham's facing the opposite direction. And they said that it symbolizes that how the world, how the government turned its back on Abraham Lincoln for allegedly freeing the slaves. It shows how he was on a different page versus the agenda. It shows that he was against the agenda, basically.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's hearsay.
Right. I've heard different narratives to Abraham Lincoln's role in the issuance of the greenback and things of that nature. So I've heard that he was a traitor side of it. He was, you know, issuing that for the bankers' sake, and I heard the other side of it where he was actually trying to get away from the bankers by issuing a debt-free, no interest, you know, U.S. currency directly. But of course, it failed because here we are now, a Federal Reserve note. But so I, you know, once again, it's all hearsay because nobody alive was there, and all we have is, you know, redoctored information through academia, and you can't trust that either. So.
This is true.
Man,
this is true.
Anyway, man. But no, appreciate your call, man.
All right, not a problem. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, be good. Yeah, good stuff, man. Appreciate the call. So, yeah, let your thoughts be heard, man. This is a talk show. I want to definitely hear from you guys. Just having a little discussion tonight, talking about the monarchy and how people are willing to call another man king. Like, I personally, I just don't feel comfortable calling another man who puts on his pants every morning the same way I do king, because he hasn't done nothing for me, and he's taken more from the world than he's given. That's just my opinion, and that's just something I want to definitely make that. Just want to voice my opinion on that. I'm sure others may think different. Let me see what we got here. Feel free says Norway over reparations. Sweden is greater than Norway, and Italy owe me reparations for enslaving my ancestors. I want cash now. Yeah. Slavery just isn't limited to race. It's definitely happened throughout history. Indentured servants, and, you know, you name it, man. So, yeah, not in this life, unfortunately. I'm saying, in the one to come. That's what I'm believing the Lord for. But in the meantime, when you see evil, address it head on. Call it out for what it is. We live by another man's rules. What's the difference? God, our creator, made the rules. 100%. But it's one of the things where if you see evil, if you see something that just really irks your spirit, to sit around and not talk about it or not try to shine light on evil, to me, it's just as much as being complicit and being compliant with it. And even though if you can't do anything about it, just the idea of letting your voice be heard on a subject matter is you utilizing your freedom to express your displeasure and unapproval in the circumstances. And that's kind of what this was about. Brother Broker says, Mike, do they put their pants on? To my knowledge, they both they lay down flat at night, they get out, they turn in the morning, they put their feet on the ground, same way I do. Unless something happens different. Let's say, once again, them people, I'd be going far left field with a 10-4 hat on if I shared my real thoughts. But anyway, let me see what else we got here. Biden said he defeated Big Pharma. Okay, so let me. So it is 9/11. It is 9/11. So let me just, and so I want to share this with you as well. And I of course, today it's only natural. Hashtag never forget. But this is here. This was shared earlier from what's his name, Luke Radowski. And so as you guys can see here, never forget the South and the North. But then again, the 7th World Trade Center 7 was something they want you to forget. So a lot of people today going back and forth. And once again, here we are 21 years later, people are still like, oh, that's conspiracies there. Oh man, okay. But by people being vocal, expressing their opinions and thoughts and showing video footage and stuff like that has brought more people to the light to realize that you can't trust your government. What we're experiencing on the surface is a governance crisis. And so they are lying to us more now than they ever have. And we haven't seen the worst yet. This is just how the system goes. Joshua Carpenter said, Mike, doesn't it say in the Bible to obey the king and queen? Pretty sure I read that. It does say obey ruling authorities 100%, as well as render unto Caesar's what Caesar, in reference to paying taxes. So that is 100% factual. And so it's one thing to walk in respect and compliance with, which, of course, with my own current government, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I pay taxes. I do everything in accordance to the law. But then again, if I don't agree with what and how they conduct their affairs, I can let my voice be heard. So I am walking within the parameters of being a law-abiding citizen. And I do pray for the current administration and the men and women in positions of power over this nation. But then again, if I don't agree with what they say or do or whatever, I'm gonna let you know that. So I'm not saying be disobedient and just be disrespectful and all that other stuff. That's not biblical itself. But I get your point though. Donald says, "Come on, Mike, you downplay what has been done to black people every chance you get. Nobody has perpetrated the evil that these Caucasian people have done and continue to do." Downplay. Says that you downplay what has been done to black people every chance you get. See, once again, Donald, the biggest thing is, man, like, you and I, everybody's at a different point in their spiritual walk and their experience in life in general. And so, every issue, every angle you bring to the table, you see through the eye lens of color. And I expressed numerous times that, I don't see through the same lenses or viewpoints in regards to color. I see sin as sin, evil as evil. I prefer to not associate with a particular skin tone, whether it's extremely melanated or no melanin. I see the contents of an individual's heart. And as I always mention, if we did not have vision and we only could see into the spirit realm of things, when we see demonic forces or angelic forces, there's no color. There's no race in the spirit realm. So I find it hard to just talk about one particular angle as if it doesn't exist on all fronts. Asians, Chinese, green, black, blue. Satan uses everybody equally. He doesn't discriminate. So how can I discriminate? So, I get your point. But, as I mentioned before, we won't be able to see clearly on this topic just because, you see through one set of lens, I see through a completely different. So we're never gonna meet up at the same point, my friend. So, but I get your point, and that's why it's the People's Talk Show. Feel free to let your voice be heard. Evil is evil, man, and it's not just restricted to Caucasians. I know a lot. I keep it to myself. Anyway, I'm missing calls. Forgive me. Let me get this call in. So we're about the hour point too, so it's kind of late. Crack dealers. So Mike isn't hanging out with crack dealers tonight, bro. None of that, man. Let's keep it respectful. We all are the same tribe, ultimately. We all recognize evil, and we all want the best for our brothers and sisters. And so it's all love, man. It's all love. The real enemy happens to be the controlling forces at the top of this pyramid of power that I always show. Let me see if I can find that pyramid. Got deleted. Discord got deleted. Can't get it. But anyway, man, as I mentioned before, at the essence of everything, it's a spiritual battle. You got to pick a side. We got good and evil out here working at the same time. And in accordance to the Bible, in accordance to Scripture, believers in Christ in the end win. During this process, it's going to be rough because the wheat and the tares grow together. But at some point, there's going to come a separation. And so in the meantime, we're going to see a lot of shady things, a lot of shady people, a lot of unimaginable things, atrocities that will take place. And yeah, I'm still diving deep into Revelations. And yeah, it's going to be a large, an unimaginable amount of life lost. And from now until the time the millennial kingdom is set up. So yeah, the biggest thing we can all do is make sure our spiritual house is in order. And that is in reference to who have you pledged your allegiance to? Is it the King of Kings or is it to some King Charles? Anyway, hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Rochester.
I'm sorry?
I said Rochester.
Rochester. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I just want to talk about, Mike, talk about the West falling apart.
The left falling apart.
And
yeah,
as far as it's been for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like Hong Kong, and then China's got Hong Kong now. That was once a territory.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%, man. And so, and that's another thing, the whole political charades that this is being played out right now, heading into fall, as if the midterm is going to produce some type of different result. And, an example of of how people are being hoodwinked here in Michigan. I got, Tudor Dixon or whoever she is, and Gretchen Whitmer, the two choices for government. One is extreme left, one is supposedly extreme right. And they're giving us a choice that we have just two women to be the leader of our state. And it's all based upon abortion. Their primary topics are abortion. Like right now in Michigan, I've been bombarded with abortion ads. And I'm thinking dude, is this the best you can do? In the fact that people believe that is choice. Whereas 2 years ago, people hated Whitmer. They were saying that she was one and done. She's the worst governor. Now, because they put an extreme right person in appearance, they make her look like a saint. They make Gretchen Whitmer look like a saint. And she's Biden puppet 100% as well as the other chick. You know what I'm saying? So it's all a charade. It's all a game, man. This left, right is just
right.
It's being exposed more and more as a
like
farce.
All-star wrestling, The guys are out there beating each other up, and then after they're done, they're having a beer with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a charade. It's a clown show.
Oh,
basically.
100%, man. Hey, man, appreciate your call, my friend.
But the West is falling apart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The West is falling apart, and the territories are going to start demanding stuff, and there's going to be some falling apart. And let's see how far England will hold its territories.
Yeah.
Because there's always China could move in, or Russia, or other nations that are much larger on these little nations. Because once a little nation gets free, they're not strong enough to protect themselves from another bigger nation next to them.
Right. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle to get free. So that's why the Caribbean nations and the other territories, they will have to come together in agreement to work together in order to let the head of state and UK know that we're not doing this no more. We're not paying you. We don't want your face on our currency either, because we're not paying you taxes for that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't see that happening though, man. It would be good if it did, but it's unfortunate. The forces at play are too strong, man, for individuals to stand up unless they do it collectively, man. So, but it is what it is.
Well, I see, like you say, as far as Satan and all his little doing, he likes to start brush fires, and he likes to make them brush fires get bigger fires.
Yeah.
And he likes to get people fighting each other. This is perfect stuff for him.
Right. This is his territory.
Just to cause problems.
Steal, kill, and destroy, man. To keep us divided. As long as we divided,
yep.
We'll be fighting each other instead of fighting the real enemy, man. But hey, appreciate your call, my friend.
Thank you.
Be good. Good stuff, man. Appreciate the call. It's always good to hear some fresh voices. So let me, Donald, I don't want to ignore you, my man. Let me see here. So it says that's a coward way out. And so Donald, well, I mean, I enjoy the interaction, man. So like, a coward way out. Like, where am I not being truthful at? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. It says, who is controlling people at the top? And so let me just bring this up here. So this is the pyramid of power that I love to use. Just a little symbolic representation of the current structure at play here. And let me move some stuff out the way here. If I could zoom in, and I'm going to end with this one just because it is getting late. But at the bottom, the debt slaves, we know who those people are. We got the world population control. We got all these fake entities here, media, education system, governments, military, teachers, you name it, churches, all religions. We got all the private corporations, the public-private partnerships for World Economic Forum. Then we got financial councils. We got the Round Table, Trilateral Commission role. We got the Club of Rome, the Bilderberg, United Nations, whatever. And then at the very top is an image of the crown, but the eye above her, whose eye is that? Who eye would you say that is? And so I personally associate that eye with the evilness that is portrayed through Lucifer, Satan, whatever you want to call it. So to me, that's who's at the top of all this. That's who's calling the shots for his own minions to execute this agenda to take us towards a one world government with a one world currency. But even that plan will fail because he's already lost. So that would be my answer to that question. And so just using this example here, who's above the Queen or soon to be Charles? So, and then so we got the Rothschilds. So yeah, the Rothschilds are definitely up there. But once again, if this is a spiritual battle overall, who's influencing that bloodline, that family? You know what I'm saying? Like, so all this, sacrificing and trafficking, all that stuff is sick and twisted as it is. It's a part of something that's thousands of years old. They've been sacrificing false gods. We got all that stuff, man. Like that's at work still. Anyway, people, Club of Rome, yep, those are all entities out there, man. It's at work. So anyway, but I just want to check in real quick. I thought I would just talk about this whole abolishing the British monarchy. Hopefully we see some developments in more territories deciding to denounce the transition of Charles as head of state of their territories and just get those people out of, get that family out of their way, man. Like, that nothing good comes from following that old archaic model. Like the British monarchy is done. Like they're done. But people don't realize that yet. So anyway, man, we will hear more about this moving forward. And anyway, hope everyone has a great night. Be blessed, be safe, and be back at it tomorrow. Same time, same place. Peace.